just the benefit of recording, obviously what we're going to talk about today is like pricing, so that when you're doing your pricing, like you're not working for free. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is the amount of people, when I first started doing this with people, and actually I've noticed it a lot more since I've been coaching, is when I started doing this with people and like solopreneurs, small businesses, and they'll come to me and they're like, I'm working 60 hours a week, like I'm always working, but I'm getting to the end of every month and I haven't got enough money to get by, and I don't know why. And then when we start looking at like their product pricing, what we're going to look at today, when I say to them, are you budgeting for like your time? Like how much time are you spending? Like when you're doing your budgets and you're working your pricing out, are you including your time? And normally when I do this, they look at me like I've got three heads. And I'm going to, and the template that I'm going to show you today, I've used this template with people who are like, they're the only person in their business, right up to bringing these methods into cash flows with companies who've got like over 100 staff who want to like scale their business. But it's such a simple way of doing it. So I'm going to share my screen in a moment with you. And the first example I'm going to show you now, I've made the figures up because obviously these aren't the actual figures with the person that I worked with, but I coached a clothes designer last year, and she came to me because she was just like, I'm like making, like she's a one-man band, but she's making specialized ladies clothes. She's like, I'm working all the time, I'm busy, like I don't have any more time, but I don't have any money. And when we looked at her, when we went through her product pricing, the only thing she was accounting for when she was working out her costs was the material. So obviously to her, she was like, but I'm making a profit on everything I sell, but she hadn't accounted for, she needs to run a business, like that's a cost. She needs to pay herself as well. That's a cost. And also she was pricing what she was selling based on, if you go into like a New Look and buy a top in New Look that's been like mass produced, that's what she was benchmarking her prices against. Like she wasn't benchmarking her prices as, what she's selling, that it's like one of a kind. Like she's going in, fitting people and designing clothes like made for what they want. So she can charge like a higher premium for that. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Is everyone following so far? Brilliant. Okay, can you see that? Perfect. So so this is what we did. So this is the template that I use just to work out. So I use this template when we do this template on like a product by product basis or a service by service basis. And then it's a lot easier then to feed this information into your cash flow and things like that. Like it makes doing the cash flow a lot easier. So in the example, and like I said, these are made up figures because obviously, the information she shared with me was confidential. But what we did was, so she was selling tops for say £40, and the materials and the accessories for those tops were costing her £20. So in her mind, she was making £20 profit on everything that she sold. When actually, when we worked out, it was taking her 4 hours to make each top, plus an hour fitting. And then also, the hidden cost of that is it's not just an hour fitting, because she'll go and meet with the person, the fitting might take an hour, they'll talk for half an hour, she's got travel time in that as well. But we just did an hour for the fitting and she's paying herself £10 an hour. So straight away, her costs, before she's even thought about paying any bills, are like £70. So she's already running at a loss. Then when we worked out her overhead, so obviously her overheads are things in her business that no matter what, she has to pay those every month. So whether she makes like £10 or £10,000, those bills have to be paid. And this is another thing that I've seen is when we're working on like pricing and we're working on, you know, costings and how to price your product so you're not working for free, a lot of people don't even think about including a cost for their overheads. So what we did, and again, this is like these are made up figures, was we worked out, okay, you know, you're working 50 hours a week and you need about £100 a week to cover your overheads. So it's about £2 an hour. So based on, now this doesn't include any time spent on like admin or marketing. This was just the time spent on making that like one top. She's spending 5 hours. So we then worked out, okay, those 5 hours, you need to cover £10 to go towards paying those bills if you're working flat out on chargeable work, which, you know, as a solopreneur, that's not the case. When you bring in the time that you spend on admin and queries, which I'm going to talk about later on, those hours can really quickly rack up. So before you know it, you might be working 50 hours a week, but actually when you drill down on where you're spending your time, maybe only like 30 to 40 hours of that week are actual chargeable hours where you're working on work that you're charging for. You add that up over the year, that's a lot of time that you're working that you're not being paid for. And if you haven't budgeted for that time, it can start creating cash flow problems. And also as well, if you're not budgeting for your time, you're never going to be able, you know, if you get to a point you want to start taking staff on, you're going to run into cash flow problems quite quickly. So, and like I was saying before, you know, these were like handmade personal clothes for people. People expect to pay a premium on things like that because it's a completely personalized service. You know, if I go into a high street shop, you know, I expect to pay, I don't know, 20 to 40 pounds for a top. If someone's hand making that top to my specification, my fitting, designing it exactly how I want it, I'd expect to pay double for that. So anyways, this is just an example. It actually worked out. Obviously like I keep saying, the figures are different, but the first thing we worked on was what she told me was her most profitable item. And the reason she thought it was the most profitable item is this is what she was selling the most of. And in her mind, she was making a 50% profit. But actually, if she'd been employing someone to do this work for her, she would have been losing £40 per top that she was selling. Is that all making sense so far? Perfect. So what I want to do now, and obviously it's January in the UK and I still work with some accountancy customers. So tax returns are high on my mind at the moment. So I use this again, and again, it's made up figures, but I wanted to use this to talk about like hidden costs when you're pricing for projects, because not just accountants, you know, like web designers, graphic designers, you know, people who charge on a project. And I work with, you know, a lot of tradespeople as well. So they'll price per project, but then if it runs over hours and they haven't accounted for those hours or agreed that they're going to be paid for those hours, if their time runs over, they start losing money. But also as well, so going to this tax return, you know, again, say you're charging 300 and you know you're being paid £30 an hour, it takes you 5 hours to do it, you'd be like, great, 50% profit. But actually, when a lot of the time when you're working on project work, a lot of I suppose a lot of things people don't think about is to factor in the time for going back and forth with queries and how long that can go on for. So this tax return started in October and finally got signed off and paid this month because it's payment on completion. So, you've got to factor in, you've done the work 4 months ago, but you're not being paid for 4 months. But during that 4 months, you might have been back and forth chasing for queries, asking for more information. That's another 2 hours. The software is like £10, roughly, like say £10. And then one thing I have included in this is working out a time for how much time, based on the hours that you would have worked, how much time was spent on admin, on marketing to go and find that client, or phone calls that, it's just a 5-minute query and you're on the phone for half an hour. And then also as well, factoring in 2 hours worth of overheads. That should be 5 hours, but like, so, oh no, sorry, 10 hours, and I've done it right, 10 hours of like overheads. So even then, for, okay, it's not 4 months work, but it's taken 4 months to complete the project and it's only £15 profit. So so one thing, the reason that I do this and the reason that I go into this much detail with the people that I work with, and it's actually normally one thing I found is the people that I get like the biggest resistance from going into this much detail on each of their services and products. And we always do this before we even look at the cash flow. So before any financial goals are set, before we start on the cash flow, I always start with this, because the people that say to me, don't do it, I don't use Excel, like I hate Excel, I'm not a numbers, that's why I pay my accountant, or that's why I have like a bookkeeper coming in to do this, they're the people that we've done this and they've had like the biggest growth in their business. Because then when we start working together and they start looking at, well, actually, I'm losing out on this opportunity, I could do this in my business, or I could do that in my business, or actually I'm way undercharging for this service, so I could put my price up. But they know then, okay, I need to put my price up to this amount to make sure to make sure I'm making a profit. So are you following? Is this all making sense? Perfect. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the slides and I'm going to pause the recording. And then we can start maybe doing some stuff together just to look at, like, do you know how long, if you are charging per project, are you accounting for those costs? Do you account for the time that you spend marketing? I mean, networking's a big one. You can go to a 2-hour networking event, but it takes up half of your day. All the other little things that you don't really think about that take up like your time. Another thing, and the reason I've included this is because until I started doing this in my business, I was so bad for taking a call, being on the call for 2 hours, and half of it was just chit chat. We'd maybe spend half an hour on the accounts and the rest of the time, it was like, how's your family? And not charging for those calls. So when I went through, I did a schedule of how I spent every half an hour of each day over a week and over a month in my business. I was spending a ridiculous amount of time on the phone and not charging for that time. And so I always say that as well, because, it's important having those relationships with your customers, but not to the detriment of you financially. And also your customers won't mind paying for your time. And And then also as well, do you find yourself like you're working non-stop, but getting to the end of each month and you're not earning what you think you should be earning each month? So I'm going to pause the recording. So I hope you've enjoyed the pricing workshop. I'm adding this on to the end of the video because for the rest of the workshop that you've now got the recording to, we chatted among ourselves. We did some more demonstrations on the businesses for the people that were at the workshop, but I stopped the recording because it's personal. People talking about their businesses and pricing and things like that is personal to people, and it's not something that I want to record and share and put out there. But just to give you a recap of what we spoke about is we did examples using the templates that I showed you in the slides that I shared. We used that template to do examples to work on the people in the masterclass, you know, to work on like their pricing products and what that might look like, and also factoring in things like advertising, you know, the daily cost of advertising when you work it out over a working month. Now, one thing I did share that I'm not sharing as part of this masterclass was like a monthly schedule, and it's part of the financial goal setting in business course that I offer. That also is part, if you sign up to the pro membership, you'll get access to all of those courses. So you'll get access to that scheduling tool, but it's a really, really good tool if you come to use this template and you're struggling to work out how, you know, how do I even work out how many hours I spend on my admin or my marketing or all of those other little things that you do that aren't chargeable but take up your time. You can, you know, work out what do you do day by day, hour by hour in a week, and how much of that is chargeable. So obviously I'm running a number of workshops towards the launch of my A More Business Coaching membership. And this membership, the reason I'm creating this membership is I want to create a community where business owners can come together to support each other, celebrate our wins, you know, bounce ideas around. You know, if you've got new ideas, bounce ideas around somewhere where it's non-judgmental. Everyone's there to support each other. So everyone wants to see you well. And one thing you might find as well is, you know, when you're thinking about your competition, it can bring up stuff that makes you think, well, if I have an idea, they're just going to steal it. But one thing I found is, especially in coaching, the amount of small business coaches that I've met, we all work with completely different people doing completely different things. But I have learned so much from connecting and talking to those coaches. And that's what I want to create in my membership. I'll also be running fortnightly group coaching calls where we all come together. We can work on challenges that you're having in your business. So you'll receive coaching directly from me, as well as having that support of everyone else on the call. Like I said, you'll receive access to all of the other courses, my business courses, any new courses that come out, you will automatically get access to those if you're a pro member. So I'm including the links to the membership below. I'm going to grow this membership. So as I have new ideas or feedback that I get, I'm going to add things into this membership. And as part of the launch, obviously, I'm offering founding members. So if you sign up now, you'll pay once, never pay again, but you will still get access. There's going to be no hidden charges further down the line. You literally pay once now and you get access to all of the updates that will come, all of the coaching, the trainings, the courses, everything that's going to be included in my membership when I launch and also in the future. So I hope you found this workshop helpful. You know, pricing your products so you're not working for free is so important. One of the biggest reasons businesses fail is cash flow. So by doing this, even if you do it now, and you know what, you are running at a loss, you're aware of it. So going forward, you can change that. And you've now got a template that you can use in your business to work out, okay, so you want to start making a profit. What do you need to be charging per hour, per project, per item that you sell to be making that profit? So the next workshop's in 2 weeks, where we're going to be focusing on what is your why. Like, why do you run your own business? Why do you get up every day and do what you do, but your why, not your business why? So I hope to see you there, and see you soon.